ahead, slowing down and making no time. I gotta keep it rolling. Those windshield wipers snapping out the tempo, playing perfect rhythm with the song on the radio. I gotta keep it rolling.
What's up, everybody? I just had an official warning here from Facebook, so I'm just going to delete them out. I can't even believe they would do that, but bye. If you're on Facebook, come over to YouTube or to Twitter. Bye. I mean, it had this big red warning. I don't know. Anyway, Facebook just got disconnected, but Twitter and YouTube are on. So today on the conversation, this is episode 7 too. It's not every week, but I feel like it doesn't need to be. It just needs to be when we have a solid topic to talk about. So a lot of people have been hitting me up, and I've been talking about the 14-month window, getting transparency bills as opposed to some sort of percentage of a minimum wage in your area, but that will only, and this is the most important factor of this downside of this one, is it only applies to active time. And I don't even believe in active time, but I think that we can all agree that is fully at the mercy of the app, your active time. So when you're begging for 120% of minimum wage in your area to be on active time for an app that you are trying to force to do something for you, I can almost guarantee it's going to be worse. Your active time will be less. And the reason I would say that is because in a free market with competition, people will fight for, like they'll want more orders. This way they're better off spreading. If I get 40%, but some people or 50% of like all of every hour I'm active, I would count on that going down to like 30% because I know they're going to try and spread it across so that in case to try and help nobody stop working the apps. That's the smart thing to do. So your time would go down and all that. But anyway, we've been talking about a lot of transparency stuff. We have it here in Colorado. And for those who have questioned it or said, hey, where? And I've talked about this for years. I've quoted the bills. I've read through them. I've had senators and House members on the podcast. You guys have, most of you know this, but for those that don't, this might be a good first episode because not only are we going to go through what happened here in Colorado real quickly, what those bills laid out when they went into effect, but we're also going to talk about what Gary did. And Gary is my guest today, Gary'sApps.com. Oops. You guys, if safety matters to you, if not having to touch your phone in the middle of an intersection, if it hasn't, I was trying to think of a new way to say this. If it hasn't made you kind of do one of those and like almost shake afterwards once or twice, I just don't think you've been doing this very long because we've all been in one of those situations where it's almost like you see a person texting and driving, and you're like, they're going to get killed. Well, it's like that. The app, especially if you're multi-apping, you're seeing things drop down. You are, even if you're the best of the best, you're looking over and it is distracting. I'm sorry, it is. You cannot tell me, unless you've pulled over, you cannot tell me you're giving full attention to your driving if you're even semi-reading that thing. Even if you're very familiar with an app and you know exactly where to look, the two places, miles and money and whatever, and still you just got distracted. So I would encourage everybody to go over and check out Gary's apps. We're going to plug it again at the end, but it's Maximo, DUH, Flex Alert, Yak, and Gig Wars. Did I miss any?
No, that's all the gig apps.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, go check it out. It's Gary'sApps.com. And yeah, welcome, Gary.
What's up, man?
Oh, I'm just doing Max went to school. So I'm just
oh yeah, he's off now, huh? When are you moving? That still looks like the same house.
And it is. I got an extension on my lease for a little bit. Just because I don't know, at least through the new year, I'm gonna be here. So till February. Because my landlord was cool with that, and I just thought I should be around for the holidays. For those that don't know, my son went to college, and where he's going to college isn't that far from Denver. It's a drive.
Steve might start tearing up. So
that was 2 days ago, bro. I'm over it now. I got hookers and shit in the room, and like Charlie Sheen, Tiger Blood. I'm gonna go crazy and all this shit. Yeah,
cocaine lines in the living room.
But so, okay, transparency and human review of wrongful deactivations. How could these be two things that are overlooked by any independent? I mean, like, especially, I've read some articles. We did a Rice University wrote one of the better pieces on the gig economy that I've ever seen a university write, and it was like 2 days ago. They used all of our words. They used a lot of the words we're going to use today, and they absolutely were hitting on, this is a very hybrid version, and if nobody's going to redefine it, then at least the rules need to be stated very clearly. And they were getting at legislation, because they were saying they didn't knock on Prop 22 or on this or that like I do sometimes and directly correlate it, but they were saying that the best method of solution is just simple transparency. I mean, every other avenue to pursue, and especially those with money, are just very, you're taking a shot at some very bad legislation, because the gig apps will always come in and fight it and make it look like, oh, we don't want that. But you could tell in Colorado when they spent 4 to 5 times as much fighting transparency as opposed to 120% minimum wage, they were kind of shocked. Like, wait, why didn't you guys just go with this thing? That's what we've been telling everybody's really good. And we had the town hall here. Stephanie's bill had not gone through as a full, so they split it, and both bills passed. And that took a lot of fighting with the companies, though, just over their black box algorithm. Same thing happened with Waymo. The Department of Motor Vehicles in California said to Waymo that they needed to produce all of their accident issues, like even recall type stuff, anything that goes wrong with the vehicles, like any vehicle does in the state of California. Not only did they say no, Waymo sued the Department of Transportation, or the Department of Motor Vehicles, the DMV, and they won in California, saying that unlike humans, they don't have to produce their data and make it public, and they won. Like, no, we're not going to tell you about because they were claiming trade secrets,
right?
But I'm sorry, guys. Like, if you're going to be live human testing with things that we know, everybody can agree it doesn't work on an efficient level. It's just like, I might be more extreme on how bad they actually are than some people might think, but we all know they're not working correctly. So the fact that you're just throwing suitcases of money at people and things happen. So anyway, a lot of this gets us into trouble. So we'll focus on what we got today. So you want transparency, you want human review of wrongful deactivations. So we're going to discuss how this happened here real quick. And I'm just going to run through these. And in case you've never heard them before, stick around, because I've seen a lot of comments about where are these? So not only are they here, but I can post the links in the description right after. We will go through them. But Gary took a different direction, and all the states are looking at something, but most states are not looking at what you need. And this gets a little challenging here, because there's a national bill going through right now too about portable benefits, and it's being spearheaded by Senator Jack Cassidy out of Louisiana, and it's backed by Rand Paul in Kentucky and Tim Scott in South Carolina. That portable benefits national debate isn't just about portable benefits. It is about an absolute for life definition of all hybrid workers, all gig app workers. It exceeds beyond gig apps. All those workers will be defined for life on the national level as independent contractors. So that is also happening over the next 14 months. So when I say we're in this window, yes, New Jersey and Virginia both elect new governors this year, but the other states don't. And almost every other state next year does. That puts us in a 14-month window. That's when this is going through, and we'll define it and solidify it. So you have two things happening right side by side. You got this thing that's going to solidify in independent contractorship. But what do you got over here? Because if your state is allowing Prop 22 or any of those type models, you're going to be stuck with shit, and you're going to be solidified as an independent contractor. And again, a lot of times, like I learned going through the process here, it's just that the elected officials don't know any better. It really is. I mean, they're not aware. They see these Prop 22 and they hear from few people. So before we get into the process of what Gary is doing in Oklahoma, because I think that is a possibility, and I was talking to him about it, and I read his thing again today. But before, I think that's a possibility for every state. And we'll go through Gary's, but I real quickly want to run through the two bills here. So first of all, we'll hit on remember, this was in 2023. It was fought as one bill in the House, and they had to separate the two bills because the lobbyists weren't telling anybody that those two bills had conflicting issues, and that's why they were just shooting it down so quick. But that is what the thing was. So, I mean, now when you know this, it's better if we put together two bills, a rideshare and a DNC, and let a gig worker go hand it in. By the way, Michelle Sleet is willing to help me get database names for people in your state. So like if you decide that you want to go submit something like we're going to talk about that Gary did in your state, we'll get Michelle to pull as many names and emails as she can who support that bill, not to put it on the bill necessarily or something, just as like a reference page that we have in case they're like, well, 10 people told us they just want to be in a union. And we can say, well, 4,000 right here said no. Because if you guys don't know Michelle, Gary does. She does. I mean, one thing she does have is a database that's quite large. It's, over 250,000 people between the two groups. So I don't know about regional and how that all works, but I'm sure she said she's willing to do anything. And I'm sure that there's a way to find out who's from Kentucky, who's from South Carolina, who's from where. But the Colorado DNC law, HB 24, so these passed in 2024, 24-1129. And right after I'm done with these two, and as we get into Gary's thing, I'll put the two links for the two in the live chat too, as well as if you're watching on the replay in the description below. Colorado enacted the new law on January 1st. Now, this is DNC, so this is for delivery network companies. Effective January 1st of this year. So on January 1st, the DNC providing protections and transparency for delivery drivers working for companies like DoorDash, and I don't know why they list it this way, but and Grubhub. These laws require companies to disclose the amounts customers pay, how much drivers are paid, and the details of each delivery task, including distance, estimated time. I think you guys are following what they're getting at here. Anything that might, there's the term drip pricing, that as you go along in your order, you just are like, you're 15 minutes in and you're like, you got to be kidding me. Why did it just go up $60, but you order it anyway? It's called drip pricing. It's a tactic used by these gig apps and others. But so additionally, the laws, both of the ones we're going to talk about, prevent companies from reducing driver pay based on customer tips. So transparency, if you take a screenshot, or through Gary's apps, if you have a screenshot taken of every order you're doing, that's your proof right there. I haven't had an issue yet. A couple people have told me I got tip paid, and I'm like, did you call? Maybe it was just a hiccup, because I know a couple that have called, and immediately, it's not like other states. If Uber Eats does something like that, they're like, sorry about that, and they pay you right away here. They don't fuck around, man, because it's too big of a fine for them. So additionally, the laws prevent companies from reducing driver pay or customer tips. I think that by sending it to the customer and the driver, these receipts, I think that's the greatest idea of all time, because I've always been concerned about auditing an algorithm. Well, this keeps them somewhat on the track as much as you can of honesty, because they're not going to, I am very convinced that in most of the markets in the country, They are literally doing some weird game with money behind the scenes. I'm sold. You guys could go, you're completely wrong. But from what I've seen, what I've been told from the people I've talked to, and just what I know, I think that they do that. I think that they manipulate things just to make, and sometimes it's just to make sure something gets delivered or whatever the case might be. But so the key provisions of the gig delivery law: transparency for customers. Delivering companies must show customers exactly how much they are paying. So how much are you paying, and what's taxes? What's this? I got to say, I even used Uber Eats a couple of months back. I've never used DoorDash, but I used it as a customer side. And the taxes did not make it, what they listed as taxes. Now they did it, but what they listed as taxes did not make sense. I took screenshots of that because I was very like, what the hell? Like, how is taxes on $31, $7.99?
That's pretty high.
I'm like, dude, this isn't a well, it kind of is in Colorado, but it's not a third world country. You can't just take whatever you want for the government. But anyway, transparency for drivers. Companies must disclose to the drivers the amount the customers pay to the company, the full amount paid, how much the driver will be paid for each task, the number of transactions in each delivery task, the address and distance of each delivery, the estimated time to complete the task. By the way, this is me going through it. I will admit, I think that that's something that maybe on these other states we take out, because again, it goes to something that we'll talk about with Gary's bill, that third-party apps and freedom from the companies completely to be able to do the work free and clear of the hiring entity. I have a feeling, see, I go back to that Domino's thing every time, that late 80s Domino's thing where, if you're not on time, it's free. Those drivers were penalized, and there were lawsuits flying everywhere. So by putting the time to complete the tasks, the estimated time, I think that we all just know that if you can just, if you get it, if you take it, you're just going to know. If they want to do that, I just feel like they're playing with fire a bit. But also how much they were tipped. So here it says total you're paid, and then it says tip amount right next to it. So a lot of you will have sticker shock when you do get transparency, because you might go $12 DoorDash for 2.5 miles. Banger, dude. Great tip too. What you'll see is $12 total pay, tip 0 sometimes. And then you're really mind blown because you've been doing this game of no tip, no trip or whatever, and you think it's just that. It's not. I mean, look at this. I have seen, and they're not all that extreme, but I've seen offers I've taken based on the money now that they have to show it up front. And then I learned there's no tip at all, but yet I still met my quota for making money. And without a tip, that would have normally been a $2 trip. That was nothing. So tip protection: companies cannot reduce the amount of the pay based on customer tips, and must pay the drivers the full amount of the tip that they were shown when they took the order, which is how it should be. Here's the offer we're giving you. Here's the pay, here's the tip. Even if it didn't show it all as that separated, which it does need to, but even if it didn't, if they're saying, hey, it's this many miles, it's here to here, and it pays this is the total, they can't change that at any point. You accepted an offer based on that. So this is data collecting and sharing. Companies must share data with the Division of Labor and Labor Standards and Statistics regarding driver payments, customer payments, deactivations, and delivery tasks. This data will become publicly available. So when I was saying audit before, you guys, they're like literally they're demanding every transactional receipt be turned over every quarter to the Department of Division Labor and Standards. So I mean, they're going to go through and probably use an algorithm, Gary'd know, but they're going to go through and they're going to just see, is there any mismatch, customer to driver? And then every one is $1,000 on each side plus the $500 to the city. It's a $2,500 fine for any dollar off on those matchings. And then the deactivation policies. Companies must have written deactivation policies that define what constitutes a violation leading to account deactivation. And there's the human review part too. So if you get deactivated, you can hit, unlike other people who I'm not exactly sure because I haven't been deactivated what it looks like, but obviously you open your screen and it just says you're deactivated or something, and there's nothing you can do. Here it has it has a big button. Seen it. It says challenge the deactivation. And then once you hit it, it does go to another flip screen that I've seen that says, by challenging this deactivation, you are 100% certain you have no, they really actually, it's a good idea though. They really lay it on thick about, you're sure you have no idea why you were deactivated. So they're like really putting it in there. And since the new year, when this went into effect for rideshare and DNC, we've only had 156 challenges. I don't know about you, Gary, but I would have thought that would have been a lot more.
For deactivations?
For the challenges. With all the people we hear, I was wrongfully deactivated. See, I'm wondering, with this kind of thing in place, which is great, I'm wondering how many people are like, well, I won't challenge it then because I actually probably do know.
Well, that's the thing. Like most gig workers don't realize that. I'd say probably 90% of gig workers break some terms of service violation. Every single one of them. And so most of them know what they did. It's very few. I mean, it's like, for example, Spark will have an update. They'll go through facial recognition. We have a huge problem with that. I grew a beard, so now it can't recognize me. So now I'm deactivated because I grew a beard. Like, come on. Stupid things like that.
Sure.
Those are what you want to get by. Not I shook someone's soda up and handed it to them, or I punched somebody's car, so stuff like that. Like, definitely, you know what you did.
So I'll get to the other comments too, but I do see Roy in here, and I do want to address this because I see him dropping some comments. But so he's this is probably the best one I was able to grab. I was just real quickly looking, but I thought the point is to help drivers make more money. I think the idea is to solidify that we are free to work on many apps, and all we want is the full transparency. Like I've said before, and this Roy and anybody else, if you're on Roadie, and every offer, and this is kind of my market, sometimes I find something, but I'm on Roadie. They don't have any ratings or any metrics, but they have the worst offers in town for sure. But those offers are 100% transparent. So if there's nothing being held against me, it's just another tool that I can use to say, I mean, that's how the real world of independent contractors works too.
And see, Steve, I actually disagree with what Roy put there. It's the whole point isn't to make
that's what I'm saying.
More money. It's
no,
not.
It's about upfront honesty,
right? But that's
penalty.
what I'm saying. A lot of people that are against trying to do some type of regulation, that is their misunderstanding. They just think, oh, I want more money. I want more money, and that's not what even what it's about. If you go to hire somebody, you don't go, well, I might pay you this, but it might be this too. Or you know what? I need you to do a delivery for me. It's going to be in this general area.
Or allowing tip baiting. I mean, that's gone here too. I mean, that's a huge problem.
Yeah. That's terrible. Like, it's a terrible problem is what it is. Hey, go deliver this for me. I'm going to pay you, $50. You deliver it. I'm going to give you $5 instead.
Right. And with the National Portable Benefits Law that will solidify all independent contractors, even in the gig space, I got to say, dude, I would never, and I've made a joke about this before, because obviously there's more work that goes into production and it can be for multiple days out of state, but there's never a damn detail missing. There's the hotel I'm staying at, the check-in time, the checkout time, per diem of $50 a day, plus the full pay. The whole damn breakdown, my flights, everything is there. Like, some people say you have to write proposals yourself or else you're not an independent contractor. Well, tell that to the companies I work for, because I work for production companies that they don't allow you to write proposals. They send you one and they're like, do you want this? And it's 100% transparent.
You know, that's the thing, Steve. Like, you know, my other work that I do on the side, you know, whenever they give me a price, I do the work, they pay me that price. They don't go, now we're
Exactly.
gonna cut that in half.
Yeah.
You know, and like you, I get all the details up front, what they want, what they need, things like that.
Yes.
It's not a guessing game.
Right. Or a general contractor in like you've been to Denver a few times, Gary.
Right.
Like in Denver, how much I know all cities do, but we have a ton of construction everywhere. It's probably why Curry's so banging here. But to be honest, like we have so much. Can you imagine a GC, a general contractor who's hiring out to all, like he knows 5, 6 plumbers, he knows some HVAC guys, he knows the roofers, he knows the framers. Can you imagine one of these guys like getting a rep of like, I know we agreed on 2,500, but that looks like about $1,500 worth of work. I'm just going to pay you that.
I go rip all that stuff off.
I mean, I'm just pointing it out that do you understand that? Yes. Okay. You might claim, well, that guy the GC might has so many contacts. He might be able to go land more jobs. Sure. But how long until his name is just so shit all over town that nobody will go near him?
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, and it does happen like that. People in that field would learn very quickly. They all know the GCs.
Anyone here who's ever owned a house or had somebody work on their house has looked at reviews of other people, you know, for that company, you know, and so if you go around shitting on everybody, that's what you're going to get. Simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and I know that, you know, Brian wants to take the legislation into his state. So he's saying that, you know, people, so I know he's been doing other independent contractor work since I think he said his last day was, like some October 13th, he was texting me or something of 2000 or 2010 or 14. I don't know, something when the gig apps were around or maybe even before. And I was like, did that happen to be a Friday? And he actually was like, it actually was a Friday the 13th. So anyway, he's been doing it for pre-gig apps. I now know, but so this landscaping thing, this is exactly part of the problem. And again, understand independent contractorship, because if you decide that you're going to be your own boss, even outside of gig apps, like here in his case, this is on you if they don't pay you. So you do, I mean, like he might have to, you know, if it was just landscaping, you know, of course you can like still keep billing them and keep, but that's time. That's now time you got to resource out. But if it's something huge amount and you're doing plumbing for a new build, you might be owed 20 grand. That kind of thing is going to need to be taken to court. You're going to need to fight. Like things happen. I guess I'm just pointing out the reality too of being an independent contractor, you guys. Like, I mean, you don't want 120% of active time because they control it, but you do need all the transparency you can, so you can be doing as many different things as you want. You cannot be making bad decisions based on this many miles, but it's $6 plus. You might get more. No,
Well,
no.
Here's one of the best things I tell people. When you're a contractor, for example, you know, Gigan and Brian, all of them, they do, you know, like roadies. So they know where they're picking up, where they're dropping off. So along that route, they can pick up and drop off other things as well. As long as they meet the contract delivery time, you're good. But whenever you have a general area of where you might be going, you can't do that kind of stuff. You're stuck to that one app. That's it. Guess what? You can't accept other stuff because you don't know where you're going to go. You don't know where that's going. It might be going north. Okay, where north? Is it going downtown north? Because I can't go downtown north because it's traffic. Mm-hmm. Things like that. So a lot of people don't understand that when we want transparency, it's not just about pay. It's just we need to be able to control what type of work I am doing.
Yeah. I mean, and that's a perfect example. Like, let's say somebody's new on an app, and especially like a roadie or a courier or something that has a lot of long hauls, you know, like maybe they're wondering they've only been on it a few weeks. Why is this pay so high just to go from Denver to North Glen? Well, maybe all of us Curry veterans know that I-25 is shut down and there's a bunch of side roads you have to take, and it's about 3 times the time right now. Maybe you're not aware of that and you take it thinking you just grabbed a banger. You got to live and learn, guys. You got to take some and learn. You got to go shit, man. You know, and that's again why you need the full transparency. Again, a lot of these are time, you got to be quick, but you might want to look up the route real quick. Like, hey man, if you feel like you have the time, like, okay, here to here, and it says 2 hours and you know it should be 30 minutes, something's wrong. And therefore, you know, another reason why, but again, you just need to become familiar. So moving on to the TNC law, this is the ride share, and then we're going to go into Gary's thing. Is that so? Colorado on February 1st of 2025, because Uber tried to fight it at the last minute, Lyft said, well, I don't know, we'll see what happens with Uber. They were just playing the little baby in the corner that can't do a damn thing ever, but they were letting Uber run with this ball. And the judge slapped it down. They used my podcast like on several occasions during this thing, which I thought was pretty comical, or not comical, cool, but comical. But they were going through a lot of things that people had said on the podcast, especially elected officials. But a week before the TNC, and now Uber was already doing the DNC from January, but a week before, a month later, a week before this went into effect, Uber's like, we'll leave the state. And the judge who dealt with them back in July of 2024 said he literally came at them, and I don't have their reason for why they wanted this right in front of me, but they said something to the they were like, we need to look into this more, and otherwise we might leave. The judge who gave them their 2024 July trial said, and this was a hard quote from him. He goes, do you remember on this date in July, and that was their last date when they accepted this TNC thing? He said, do you remember me saying, and I quote, and he went through whatever his quote was, that by you saying you accept this, you will not, unless you have extraordinary measures, which he just had to put as a clause, you will not, within 8 weeks of this going into law. Basically, he was saying, don't try and pull an Uber on me because I'm all over it. Because he was like, if you are going to try and say that, well, we need to, he's like, I'm going to remind you. And so I kind of knew you were going to do that. He like floored him. And he was like, so you said you fully understood this and you would participate in it. He said, so as of the last day of January, you will need to turn off by 11 p.m. He didn't even give him till midnight. I don't know what all the reasons were. I think he was just kind of backhanding them for things they've done in other states and pointing out he recognized it, because he was like, then you need to be shut down completely at 11 p.m. It took about 24 hours for Uber to come back and go, we'll just deal with it. And just to point it out in case you don't know, I mean, most of you know, you've listened to this enough alone to know, but in California, it went to the 11th hour, and Uber and Lyft got their stay for Prop 22 during AB 5, which is kind of what snowballed and started all this stuff. And it was California going, well, you'll disrupt our transportation, so I guess you have to stay. They tried that crap here, and our judge was like, he just was looking at them. You could just tell. He's just like, are you going to tell me that stupid California story again? He goes, I'm so familiar. You want me to tell it for you? He was just ready. And so anyway, February 1st, it went into effect. They were compliant the first day. And so mandate that the companies like Uber and Lyft disclose detailed information about fares, driver pay, deactivation policies to both drivers and passengers. Furthermore, these laws address concerns about driver deactivation, requiring companies to provide drivers with a reconsideration process, is what it's called here. I keep calling it human review because I think a lot of you will click with that better than a reconsideration, because reconsideration to me makes it sound, even if you know about the human review, I feel like you'll be thinking, is that so DoorDash is going to reconsider their decision to deactivate me? No, the human review is 8 drivers. It is 2 attorneys, and I know you guys know I'm not a big fan, but 2 union members. There's 2 union members, 2 lawyers, and 8 drivers who are on the 12-person panel, and they don't work for the companies. Out of the 100 and whatever, I was telling Gary, completely since this new year, 158 or whatever, wrongful deactivation challenges, only like 11 weren't approved. All the others were fixed. Nope, you were wrong. He shouldn't have been deactivated. So out of 150, whatever, only 11 people were actually retold, no, you were deactivated correctly. Which is, I'm glad to hear that kind of number on a stat, but I'm also glad to hear that the deactivation board did have a few that they said, no, dude, you were in the wrong. You know, if it,
Do they have to publish those so we can
yeah,
go back and
all
read
of it's
them?
public. Yeah.
Go back and read what happened.
Well, it's all going to be on the divisions because the part of the deal is every 3 months it has to be updated. But for the first year, so on January 1st of 2026, the entire first year will be on the Division of Labor Standards and Statistics. You will be able to go to a specific page for gig work and see any case and search its database, whatever, by date, by what, everything is public record now. They really screwed them. And so the key provisions, transparency and pay, companies must disclose to the drivers the total amount a passenger paid for a trip, the driver's earnings, and any tips received. Transparency and fares, passengers should also be able to see the total fare they paid and how much the driver received. Drivers are protection against unjust deactivations. Drivers are entitled to know the reason for deactivation and have a process to appeal the decision. Potential fines and violation. Each violation of the law can result in $1,000 fine. What is not mentioned here is that's $1,000 for every mismatch, which is actually $2,000 because it's each instance. So the customer, you can't have one without the other. So it's either 0 or 2,000 is how I guess I'm saying that, because if you have a mismatch, there you go. And then transparency and termination policies. Companies must clearly outline their procedures for driver termination and rehiring. So Uber's lawsuit, Uber has sued Colorado over the new laws, claiming that's what it was, claiming that it violates the company's free speech rights. And that's what they waited for a week before to say to the same damn judge that July 24th, 6 months prior, had dealt with all this and said, you ain't got nothing to say, right? You ain't got no problems. I mean, free speech, he was basically saying, if you're going to claim free speech, better be right now, today in July of 2024. And so he just wasn't accepting nothing. So potential for company exit. Uber has also threatened to cease operations in Colorado if the laws are not amended, citing concerns about legal risks associated with the new regulations. What are the legal risks with being honest? I'm just curious.
You might get sued because you're cheating the drivers or the customers.
Well, they can't be sued. So they can't be sued for that if they're being honest. Again, it's just but I'm just wondering, because citing concerns about the legal risks associated, to me, you have way more legal risks without transparency. Way more.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Well, we know what they really mean is we can't cheat if we have to tell you everything.
Yeah, but they're also still here operating, so they're also not doing anything about it. That was just words. But support from gig workers, Colorado Independent Drivers United has been instrumental in advocating. This is why there's 2 seats that are unionized. I do know the guys over there, though. They're good guys. But you know, there is a little bit of union at the table just on the driver deactivation. So Colorado Independent Drivers United has been instrumental in advocating for these changes and continue to push to further improvements in gig worker rights. That being the next stage of next year, when I spoke to them last, is that by March at latest, that the removal of metrics completely from all gig apps be amended to this. And there's already a lot of support in the House and the Senate for it. So, and then, so we talked about HB, the delivery platform bill. And then just to avoid any confusion before we move on, and again, I will post these links as we move into Gary's piece or what Gary's up to, but the House bill, they also had another House bill, 25-1291. This bill focused in May on passenger safety and included provisions for optional audio and video recording during rides. It wasn't optional, guys. They were demanding that the rideshare companies put a camera in your car, and that every time your car turns on, it's on. So, that happened. And if you guys, the reason I'm pointing it out is because if you heard me talking about it and saying that's bullshit, no, I got a dash cam. The last thing I want is Uber being responsible for storing a year's worth of my data. But secondly, what if I'm doing some ride share and something happened and that angle of the camera doesn't catch it right, but mine does? Like, that puts me in that's like, Uber, can you send me the video you got? Because I need to make sure I'm good.
I've never understood that. Like, I've actually had to tell the companies before, back, way back in the day, 2015, 2016, well, I have dash cam footage. You want me to send it to you? And they go, oh no, we don't accept that. Like, what? Like, that's literally proof, of everything I'm telling you.
Yeah.
And they're like, nah, we don't want it.
So I'm going to put these 3 in here for you guys into the chat so Gary and I were talking, and I don't remember how far back we started this, but he's like, he was doing something and I was doing something where we were going to be gone like for a week or two. And he's like, I really do want to approach and I was like, okay, let's do it. And like, he's like, I want to do something like you did. Just recently, Gary had reached out to me and said, because Colorado's 2 bills that we just referenced are set in stone and laws, those weren't around before. And that's a big deal because now the other states can reference that. It's hard when you don't have a legal reference.
Right.
But so now Gary is putting together what he has titled, and I think it's just because he's just trying to be as basic as you can, how you should on this, but it's Oklahoma Driver Fairness and Transparency Act. They could even reword it. But what he's done, maybe I'll let you kind of explain the process of what you've done, then we can run through it too. But because he used with the help of AI.
Right. Yeah, I'm not a legal. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know how to write bills or any of that stuff. So what I did is I took your bills in Colorado, and I took the basics of them. And then I wrote down what I wanted, as far as, because I didn't take everything for your bill because some of that stuff I don't really care about. I think some of it's for the company, not for the drivers. And I'm more in support of drivers than I am customers and the companies. And so, but I took all the good parts of it and everything. I wrote out what I wanted, and then I used AI to help me redefine exactly what I wanted into an actual bill,
Right.
And so, but you can't just go in there and tell it, hey, take this bill and write me a new bill for this state, because
exactly.
it's going to mess up a whole bunch of stuff, and you're not going to know what it actually messes up. As Tim said there, ChatGPT will write it for you. Yes, it will. But it's not going to write it how you want it, and it's going to give you a lot of pushback, because even whenever I was doing this, it told me, well, you don't want to do that because Uber fought that in California. Well, I don't care that Uber fought it in California.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It'll have its references. So if you're thinking, well, I can just go into ChatGPT and say, write this for me based on these Colorados. Even that, you don't have to read every page of legalese till your head blows up, but you have to understand your labor codes a little bit.
Right. Yeah. You have to know what your state can do and what it can't do. If you want something like Prop 22, I'm definitely not ever going to get anything. Not that I'd want it, but that's not something that would ever pass in a red state for me. So, like, if I tried to put that in there and send it to the state to have them sponsor a bill, they're going to laugh me out of the building.
Yeah.
And so you have to kind of know exactly what you're looking for, what your labor laws are.
Especially because
you do have to do some things. You can't just, if you try to submit whatever ChatGPT gives to you, it's going to get rejected, or it's just going to come out terrible. So you have to like,
and not only that, when it does spit out something, you got to go back and tweak it.
Right. It's
No
it
matter
probably took
what you
me
get to, you're
yeah,
gonna have to, and like I said to you guys, like let's get Gary's in, let's get a couple other states in. And because we have 14 months, I mean, it can't hurt to put it in. Somebody asked me, well, what if I do that and nothing happens with the bill? Okay, my response to that's real simple. Okay, you at least did it, and there's something on record
right.
that
And
actually has never
and,
been on record before. Hey,
and
dude,
see
this one digger,
that's what I'm doing too. Is it's not that like, do I think it's going to pass the first time? No, I don't.
ours
But
didn't.
right, and what I'm wanting is, if you put something on record, whether it gets rejected or whatever happens to it, even if they just take a small portion of it and pass it puts something on record that they can later go in and make into another law. And so you got to think long term here. If you think something's going to happen in a week or 2 weeks, no, this is a long term thing. But if you keep letting these companies take advantage of you,
Facts.
then you're just gonna you might as well just go get a W-2 at that point, because let somebody else make all the money and you do nothing.
So before let's roll through, like we'll roll through. I put it in, you had it in the bullet points, but I just kind of made it clean for me to read real easy. But before that even, and even in my notes I didn't, but Gary had put contact Gary Middleton and then personal information that needs to be submitted, but I'm not going to share that here. But he also put proponent, individual constituent, and I do the name of it, which is just a placeholder. But proponent, individual constituent, no organizational backing, and then contact Gary in his information because he's submitting it. So one thing I do, I like the no organizational backing, but do you think that you could put something to the effect there of, instead of that saying, I don't even know, but something to the effect of, you have a list of other drivers who are way down with this kind of thing.
Yeah, you can do that. The reason why I did that is because you don't want to submit it, like whenever you're a company like me, you don't want to submit it as your company, because then they're thinking that your company is going to sponsor his bill and give millions of dollars and things like that. So you're an individual driver. The way this is drafted is for an individual for that state to submit it, which means that you don't need a company to help you. You can do it all yourself. It'll cost you nothing. It's just time.
Yeah.
And things of that nature. And
to be honest, that's how the whole law works, guys. Like we just don't talk about it a lot, but you can go fight anything you want.
Right. But a lot of people don't know that. They think that everybody has to have a company and money and things like that. And so I want to do this from a single person perspective and try and get something on the books or passed, and, or at least make it acknowledged in the state that other, representatives start thinking about it. Like, oh yeah, remember that bill last year that we were trying to pass, the Fairness Act. And so you just want to get something out there. So that's why I did it that way, is I didn't want to tie it to any organizations. And since I did reference some of the other companies in there, I didn't want them to think that I was part of those companies either.
Yeah. Yeah, no, okay, so I get it. And also, I mean, the first thing I saw when I saw no organizational backing, I thought that was your way of saying, yo, I ain't with no unions.
Well, that too, but
I really thought that was it, though. I thought that was like,
if you actually, and that's one of the things is ChatGPT kept trying to throw in union too.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, there's no union. There's no union. And so I actually had to tell ChatGPT that there's no organizational backing. You know,
yeah.
And so, because if not, it'll try and throw that crap in there for you.
Yeah.
And so, but if you have
100%.
like a list of drivers, you can put more list of drivers. You can attach another sheet to this showing that, hey, I got all these drivers. The problem with that, Tim, is Grok is not available for PC, so you'd have to do it on your phone.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look. I keep getting these ads about like, hey, 15-year-olds are making more than you, dumbass. Like, here's 7,200 AIs where you could be making $1 million tomorrow. I'm like, this is the new pitch on making $1 million. Shut up.
Yeah, just
Like,
use
I
AI.
know that there's some tools to learn, but like, there is so many. So does it have to be ChatGPT? No, but I think that that's one that has the most experience with people.
Yeah,
I don't know if I had to throw a
it's
dart, and maybe I just don't know about the others too well, but if I had to throw a dart, ChatGPT has had the most things
well,
run through it.
it's ChatGPT. They're the biggest, one of the biggest, because they're also with Apple phones now and things
Yeah.
like that. Then there's Gemini, which is from Google, and then Grok, that's from X. So
Yep. So you put so Gary like bullet pointed this, you know.
yeah,
I mean,
what I gave you, Steve, just so I know other people here can't. What I gave you is just a summary of the actual bill, because whenever you submit it to your representatives, when you're emailing this stuff off, you just want to give them something quick and easy to read.
yes.
And then once you actually talk to them, sit down face to face or Zoom or phone call or whatever, you can get into actual details of the bill. So that's what we're looking at here, is just the summary of the bill.
And exactly my point. And if honestly, I know the people who say emailing doesn't help. If you email, it does. Going to see a lawmaker or one of your constituents, showing up in their office, even if you don't see them that day, checking in with their assistant or whatever, all that stuff matters. It does. These video testimonials have helped, but this is just a whole new way, because if they get this, there is no way that constituent or that elected official that Gary's going to get this in the hands of cannot respond to him. And I say that because Gary has proof on an email when it was sent, and he can go to any live quorum this elected official might be having if he doesn't respond and say, hey, I wrote an entire bill for you and you didn't even respond to me. That carries in a room of voters so big that they know this. I guess I'm saying like 90, all of them know it, but 95% of them are going to respond to you without question.
The state reps, they work for you. And a lot of people forget that. They are elected by you, by the people, to listen to you. So whether they answer you or they have an intern or one of their staff, someone.
I mean, it very well is an aid on the first level.
Right. It most likely is on the first.
But that
first
aid
level
would be emailing Gary and the elected official and saying, hey, I read this from this person. This was
so and doing it the way I'm doing it, with a cover sheet, pretty much is what it is. Summary, whatever you want to call it. It gives them something quick and easy that they can look at. And most of these people, I guarantee you, they've probably taken an Uber, Lyft, or had a DoorDash or Uber Eats delivery, but they've never actually thought anything about the drivers on that.
Yeah. And I would even go a step further. I don't think you need to do it out of the gate, but if you do send one of these off, make sure you CC yourself. And I say CC, not BCC, because make sure that you CC yourself so they see you did that. It's just proof that you would have it in sent anyway, but it's proof you're on top of your game and you're definitely aware of the date you sent it. Because if they don't get back to you in about a week, and I'm not kidding, if somebody doesn't get back to you in about a week, no more, I would actually go. Well, I would even go send registered mail.
Yeah, you could do that too.
Because then I would be like, and I would put another cover letter on there saying, I emailed this to your staff a week ago. There is absolutely zero reason that I should not have heard back from you.
And see, and I remember when we had the town hall in Colorado there, speaking with the reps up there, he's like, I've never even looked at it from this point.
Because he thought the 5 people he met that want to be in a union represented all of us.
Right.
And I keep saying this. I mean, maybe you guys, when you hear me say the 5 people who went and emailed in a state, I'm not kidding. There are states where 5 or 6 people make these people think, because they got 100 things to deal with every day on the Senate floor or the House floor. they're being handed things and like cliff noted by their aides that morning.
Just think about this, and you know, when you watched all these YouTube videos on, you know, Prop 22 and all that, there wasn't a lot of people outside of those protests most of the time.
No. And
You know?
as we've exposed here recently too, even one by name, and it wasn't my fault. Karen Anderson did it. Karen Anderson's got a mouth on her, man, because she got screwed by AB5. She
Right.
does well enough to be retired, but she can't write anymore. She had reached a point in her career. She had written for many publications, written books. She's done all kinds of things, and she couldn't work anymore. It ended. And so she was in the best part of her life, though, making way over six figures, making the most money she ever had as her own boss. That all ended. So she happened to spit out a name, Nicole Moore. Oops, did I just say it? Nicole Moore. So by the way, guys, if you ever see articles with Nicole Moore, if you look her up, because if you ever see her, you'll see her in like ripped jeans and a t-shirt, and she attends all of these Drivers United Los Angeles type events where they go and, like Gary was saying, have 25 people standing eats outside the and go with picket signs. Like Gary and I have even talked about this before. The press isn't even going to stop for that. If you alert the press, they're just going to drive by because they're like, dude, we don't have time to show that a 25-person story. This is stupid. But if you ever saw, like, she is actually a professional at getting arrested. She causes problems at these. But if you look up Nicole Moore, she makes $215,000 a year. And she works for a union. She is the definition of a union shill. She comes and she plays a driver, but she's never done a rideshare in her life. And we just got public records. If they work for unions, and if you guys are familiar with unions, another problem with unions is they have your address, your phone number, and your email. Good luck getting away from that. I mean, you'd have to go through name change and all kinds of legal bullshit. But regardless, we were able to pull up all her information. And this isn't recent. And she's still been involved recent too, but she's been making that for like 9 years. So it's almost like, back, I remember in the 90s hearing about these people on Market Street in San Francisco when a lot of the jobs were getting lost for executives. There was one guy, I remember this, and this is kind of, just when internet's kind of starting, no devices. This was like when you could only have a pager. So, but I mean, like, there were people losing their jobs, and there was this guy who did this entire piece with somebody from the San Francisco Examiner on how he was making $120,000 as an executive, working 9 to 5 every day, Monday through Friday, on Market Street at one of the high rises, and lost his job. He worked the exact same hours 2 blocks down on Market Street, where you pick up the train and subway meet, sitting down, doing nothing. He didn't have any musical instruments or anything, just a bowl out in front of him and crappy clothes. And he made $135,000 as a homeless person.
Jeez.
But he lived in $1 million home and was taking the subway home every night. Did it for an entire year and made more than he made as the executive. Working the same hours. He like literally had a shift. This whole story based around it. It was nuts. I'm like going, Jesus, man. Like, I don't know. But so the problem that Gary's addressing here is drivers can be deactivated abruptly with limited transparency or recourse. Platforms increasingly block accessibility services and lawful third-party tools. Gary and I were talking about this one. That actually absolutely belongs. We had that in here on the 2023 one that got shot down, and then even on the 2024s, but we pulled it. I think that he's right by putting it in here because, again, under an ABC test, and every state has one if they want to pull it out. That's prong A. That's the one they should pass very easy. None of them do. I mean, like even I heard somebody had told me that Lyft took the option of which navigation apps you prefer to use out of the app. Okay, so
well, you can still get to it, but Instead of just clicking navigate, you now have to go through like 3 sub menus to actually navigate to the external map.
I mean, not to pick, we're not going to sit here and pick every single thing apart, but guys, that right there is illegal. And by that, I mean, even to have in-app navigation, it should demand that you pick which external one and not put any money behind the internal one, because that's almost a trap for them.
Well, because they control the internal mapping. We have no control over it.
But they in my opinion, take it out and say, which of the mapping ones do you want to use?
Like Grubhub does.
Does Grubhub not even
That's
have
how they
one
do
of their
it.
own?
Nope, they do not.
Okay, so see, perfect, because it's a trap. I mean, like, and Gary even mentioned a user study done years ago where the Uber drivers, I don't even buy this. I think this is just one of those. I mean, I think it happened, but I think that it was a lie. I think it was a setup. How I was saying, how they pull the right users in for the right answers. But where the biggest question of a certain year was, why can't you update the mapping system within? And Gary and I were like, it's called Google Maps, dude. Just it's hard. Why? Who wants to reinvent the wheel? Like, I don't know. To me, it's like that was the number one complaint.
I mean, my thing is with these third-party tools is, and that's just not for my apps. It goes for Solo, Gridwise, whatever you want to use. If someone was building you a house, you wouldn't tell them what tools to use. You just would. Yeah, you can't. You would like, hey, that's not DeWalt. No, you can't use that, man. We only use Ryobi around here. You know,
Yeah,
you wouldn't be able to pick and choose that. Not at all.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think. There might be some kind of things where, but in the real world, people would solidify that before accepting your proposal.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
hey, you're going to be doing all the
most
drywall. We do really want to use this.
Right.
Are you okay with that? Because if they were like, no, I will not use that, maybe that, and then you're not even being an ass. You're just like, we really need to find somebody who does, because that's what the customer wants. So
right, exactly. And then we got tip baiting on here, of course. You know, post delivery tip reductions. That definitely cuts into driver's pay. You know, it happens not on all the apps, but you know, Uber Eats does it, Spark does it. Who else does it? Instacart does it. You know, all them platforms, you can go do a, 35-mile delivery for Walmart, says it's going to pay you $50. You go drop it off, customer removes all their tips. Now you get 12 for 35 miles. I mean, that's not right. And you did nothing wrong. You did everything right.
That's why here in Colorado, I never had a problem before the transparency with tip baiting. Lucky, but if I did today, I know that I know that I don't have to do the normal call to Uber Eats. I just have to call and say, I live in Colorado, just before we even start this call. Yeah, I got a tip of this. I got the screenshot. Put it in my account in the next 5 minutes, or I'll contact the Division of Labor.
Right.
Because they don't fuck around here. And even their first tier operators are trained as Colorado as a red flag comes up.
Just give it to them.
Deal with this different.
Pay.
You have to pay them, which tells you a lot right there, that they're very aware they steal or allow this crap. The way Colorado worded it to them was pretty clever too. In the end, the wording from the when the ruling came down was, listen, we can't tell you how to run your company. If you want to allow people to remove tips, that's up to you. But if you show Gary an offer and it's got a $20 tip and a $10 base pay or whatever, it's $30 to do a certain amount of work, you have to pay him that. If you decide to let people, and this is kind of weird to me because it's really Gary's client, but what they're saying is if you allow people to alter that and pull that tip out, that's on you. You can definitely do it, but you have to take the loss.
Right. You eat the cost, not me.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
I mean, especially because a lot of these tip baits, you did nothing wrong. You know, it's something out of stock, or, something was damaged that was inside of the box already. Yeah. There's so many variables that the driver did nothing wrong on, and yet they're still tip baited. what was it? I think it was last year, maybe year before, customers learned that they could raise their tip when they placed the order just to get it done faster and then reduce it later. It was like, come on, man, that's not right. I agree.
And-
they should always be able to increase it. They should always be able to increase it. If they think someone went above and beyond, increase it. But it should never be able to be decreased.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. And here in the Colorado one, I can tell you too, because I had somebody who did get an increase in the tip and they contacted me. And I was like, oh shit. Because I was thinking, is this going to be some bad transparency story where he found some, wait, man, there's a loophole. And I just found where we're going to get fucked. It wasn't like that at all. He was like, he's like, no, what it was it had to be a separate transaction. So he had the transaction that showed the original tip, and then he had another whole transaction that said just tip from the same order number. This is how much they have to match up their receipts now.
Right.
So it's not like Uber just going, yeah, you have 2 hours to add to it, whatever you want to do. Like, no, it makes it probably easy in the app for the customer, but it really is generating a whole nother receipt because they have to show line by line what happened. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, maybe somebody could say, that, maybe some of those are being stolen. But in all honesty, I don't think that they're willing to take that risk. Also, how often are we extra tipped? I know it happens. I think I can count it on this hand alone.
It depends on the platform for sure. It depends on your platform.
But so yeah, insufficient pre-acceptance information and short decisions windows create unsafe situations. This is where Gary's apps fall into place again, and they should be legal, or they are legal.
They are legal, but
the apps are treating them, and definitely, like, they never say the word illegal, but they would lean to somebody who was in reference and go, no, you just use our app. Just use they would never say you can't or don't. You'll be, because that's pure threatening, and they better watch their ass on that, because in every state we're an independent contractor. It's what they fight for too.
Yeah.
Trust me, we're all fighting for it. We just want different outcomes.
6 seconds is not enough to make a decision on anything. It's not 6 to 8, 11 seconds, depending on your state, depends on how the timer goes. But
you and I have had conversations about, like, dude, is it really just that kind of timing, or do they know I'm getting into a really hard intersection?
Well, no, I've actually timed my pings, And
no, I mean, like, where they're like, oh, look, he's coming up to that really hairy intersection at Colorado and Colfax.
Right. Let's go ahead and send him an offer.
Send him one right now as he goes through that light, taking a left, because that's some really screwy shit.
Right. And then you got 6 seconds to make your turn and accept an offer or decline an offer. That's not enough to accept. So it needs to be no less than 30 seconds. No less than 30 seconds.
Right. So what is, I mean, it says what this bill does from Gary, and then he put plain English.
Yeah, it's plain English. Exactly what this bill does. There's nothing hitting. I'm not trying to say.
I was trying to think of a way where, again,
it's just straight plain English.
Somehow you need to, like, footnote plain English, so, and at the bottom put, like, this ain't no union bullshit.
Yeah, just plain English. This is exactly what the bill's going to do.
Because realize, guys, even in the states where you're like, but I don't live in a red state, I live in a blue state. Most of the blue states, even if they're going to continue to be, are getting out of this just free fall of money. And they are very well aware that when the unions come in, it's not like the old days. They're not going to make jobs. And they know that. So how far is it worth getting in bed with them?
Right.
So I mean, when you, I guess here's my point. When you propose, if they're looking at the gig apps or the Prop 22s with union Trojan horses that are ready to roll and all that kind of pitfalls and things that involve 120% of your active time on minimum wage, that's monetary. When you can show them a non-monetary thing that we can prove more people are down with this anyway, that's when you win, because they're like, wait, doesn't have money involved. Look, hand it over. I want to see this. But so he's talking about transparency before you accept. The driver should see the base, the tip, and other amounts. So I will say that we get the breakdown after the fact, but it's a good way to put it in this way. But so again, for delivery, for example, I see total pay, tip, but then in the after effect,
Right.
you can pull all the information.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And
That's
I'm not
enough
saying
for
they
me
have
to
show
go,
all
I'm
that.
doing it because
I
the
mean, if they
miles
show
are
me,
exact.
yeah, if they show me all that, like total pay, tip, miles, exact drop off locations, I'll be fine with that too.
Yeah.
And then they can show me all the actual breakdown afterwards.
Yeah. And I mean, and I've brought this up before. I know some people don't want to go there, but I'm making connections anywhere I can, so I don't care. But when Gary put address and unit number, if provided, meaning apartments and all that kind of stuff, I've actually made some connections over at the ADA. And I know some people might go, that's just, I don't care. I'm making connections at everything because the ADA, people doing these gig apps with disabilities don't have to tell you they have a disability. In fact,
Right.
that's a big legal challenge right there.
Well, see, here's the thing about the unit numbers is if I get unit 400, I know that's most likely fourth floor.
Yeah.
If you got terrible knees or bad backs or anything, you might not be able to go up to the fourth floor.
Yeah.
Especially if you're carrying water,
Yeah. Yeah. Or I mean, at least make that part of the transparent. But anyway, so you talked about the windows for
Right.
picking up orders, tip protection,
no tip baiting.
no tip baiting. So 100% of the tips go to the driver. So when you see it, that's what you're going to be paid. You get a screenshot of it, and that's what you're going to be paid. Gary has tip reductions within 24 hours. Don't reduce the driver's pay. I think it should be immediately.
Well, what that's saying there, Steve, is within 24 hours, if they do any type of pay adjustment, you get paid regardless, no matter what. But after 24 hours, if there's found any fraud or duplicate charge, etc., mistakes, but it says that you have a driver challenge process if there's anything that needs to be changed. So
yeah, I might even on the top part.
The reason why I did that is because you have to give them. If you just tell them, hey, you got to pay us, but then there's some type of fraud in there.
No.
I'm
just now what I'm noticing though is, and I think you just even said it, is if I were you, I would take out tip and just put any monetary reductions.
Yeah, I can see
because
that.
On the one below it, you're talking about after 24 hours. Of course, there could be fraud, so you're not. And in the bottom one, you're not talking about tips because it could be anything. There can't be any alteration.
Right.
And again, I say that because I know these gig apps. They see this and they're like, "Well, we'll just reduce base pay." Fuck you.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah.
Or we'll say that, we forgot to add the airport fee, or they're so slimy, dude. And I'm not telling anybody in here that doesn't already know that, but they're just so slimy.
Right.
But so third-party tools, so in any ABC test, no matter how harsh it is, even the easiest the very first one, is that you are free and clear of the hiring entity in how you complete the job that you are being contracted or subcontracted for.
And most of the terms of service actually say that they will not interfere with how you do the job.
Right. Yeah. Which is kind of strange because if you're dirty apping, and I don't think we need to get into that. If you know, you know. If you don't, find it, ask somebody else. But if you're dirty apping, you also are breaking a term too, but that's like one instance. I'm just pointing it out that
well you're not, as long as you make your pickup and delivery times on time, you're good.
But see, that's part of the big problem is the delivery time.
Well, I'm just saying, as long as you make their pickup and delivery times according to their own terms of service,
but they can't use. But that's another metric they can't use is time.
I understand that, Steve, but I'm just saying, as far as their terms of service go, as long as you make pickup and drop off times by them, no matter what you do in between there, doesn't matter.
Yep. And for those of you who think that I've had too many people say to me when I've ever been doing live streams or whatever and doing DoorDash, and then I end it and I say, "Ooh, I got a telematics today," because it's not every day. Every one of you says, "Turn it off, dude. Turn it off." First of all, you cannot turn it off. You can turn it off so you don't see the filter, but it's still running the illegal operation behind the scenes. So I actually prefer to see it because I like to see their bullshit, because it's actually based on the fitness part of your phone. True telematics is done through actual machines and all kinds of shit. So like them even trying that one, I'm surprised anybody buys that data from them. But again, another way that they infiltrate, lie, and deceive. But you
just want me to run the gist of the third-party tools?
Yeah, if you could, that'd be great.
Basically, you can use any third-party tool you want as long as it's beneficial and does not break any laws, or how did I word that in here? As long as it's using OS level or assistive technologies such as screen readers, voice control, etc., there will be narrow carve-outs for specific safety, fraud risk, but the companies must provide an actual reasoning why. So like, like spoofers, for example, you can't use a location spoofer, things like that. So there will be carve outs on that, but there will be no
apps that would help you deceive.
Right. Because I mean, like as a business, like if you want to tie in your gig work to, say Maximo, so it can track your earnings and things like that. This isn't just about automation or Solo or Gridwise, whatever. You should be able to. Do you think Uber does everything by pen and paper? No. They use all kinds of third-party services to reconcile their books and payments and things like that. So you as a driver, you should be able to do the exact same thing. You should not be limited to what you can and can't use to do that. And so, doesn't matter how the app does it for you, they should allow it. There should be no blanket bans, no forced disabling of any types of services on your device, things like that. They can't purposely try and block an OS system function to stop you from doing that, like screenshots and etc.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a must. All those things they have to allow, because you're an independent contractor. You should be able to use the tools you want. Fairness and deactivation processes is next. Basically, we have to have a human review. They cannot automatically deactivate you for anything.
Well, they can, and that's why the human review.
Well, they can. I guess they can, but they have to have a human review within 24 hours for specific reasons and a link to challenge it, just like they have in Denver. Oh, I'm deactivated. No, I didn't do anything wrong. I need to challenge this.
Yep.
Yeah, they can't do just automatic safety suspensions. It must be validated. Well, they can, but they must validate it by human review within 24 hours. So if they flag you because a customer reports you for reckless driving, they have to validate that on their end for the deactivation within 24 hours. They can't just say, "Oh yeah, customer reported you." Yes, Tim. This is for Oklahoma. Because I'm a resident of Oklahoma. You have to be a resident of the state to get a bill passed.
And that's a good point. So any of you who do want to proceed with this, I've told you, email me, Steve, Rideshare Rodeo. We'll get it started for you. We'll actually produce it, but you're going to need to do it.
Right.
You need to do the legwork, because I can't submit anything Gary can't unless we live in your state.
So you got challenges decided by human review. I put on here a 3-person panel because I don't think it requires 8 people. I mean,
maybe just take out the amount.
Yeah, you could probably take out the amount,
because that's where your state needs to come in a little bit and decide.
Right. The thing I did put in here is they cannot be from the platform itself.
or other platforms. That's something they
Right.
tried here.
Right. It has to be an outside.
They basically wanted a
individual.
flex association type thing where it's like all of the apps, but if it's a DoorDash challenge, it would just be Uber and Instacart and the others on the panel. No.
And of
You
course
guys are all in this
they must keep your
scumbaggery together.
deactivation records for 3 years. So if you're
Yeah.
deactivated,
Well,
for
here
the
you have
last
to,
3
like we were
years,
talking about, every
have to
quarter
keep
they have to. It's not even an audit. You have to provide every transaction, and you have to
Well,
provide every deactivation, and they're
the
capped
reason
by the labor and statistics.
that's not the reason why I did this. The reason why I did this part of it is because a friend of mine, right? He doesn't do all the platforms all the time. He has a W-2 and everything. So typically about every summer he'll go in to start doing them again. Well, he logged in this summer, and guess what happened? He was deactivated apparently at the end of last summer. Yeah. And so they have to have that record there for the last 3 years. So that way people have time to go back and do that. And then I also put a look back. This is just a one-time exception within a 12-month window. You have to be able to go back if you're deactivated. I believe I put within the last 3 years, I believe is what I put on there. You can have them go back and look at it. So that means that by the time this bill passes, say if it goes into effect 2026 and you was deactivated, anytime in 2024, you would be able to go back and have them look at that with a human review. So that means that even previous people that were deactivated could get back on the platform if it was unjust.
Mm-hmm.
No retaliation for lawful offer declines, things like that. Basically, we already have that. We know that they can't deactivate you for declining offers.
And that's the next step, guys, is the removal of the metrics. So.
Right. And so, and if they're going to change anything, they have to give no less than 14 days advance notice as well. And they have to retain the prior version for at least a year. And everything has to be in plain English so any normal driver can read this stuff.
Yeah. I thought I just had a question there. So the no retaliation in contact notice, and no retaliation for lawful offers declined. Yeah, okay. I thought I'd heard something I wanted to chime in there with, but I think it was more related to something you might have even addressed. It was there needs to be some window too that once in the fair deactivation up above, when you say written notice of within 24 hours with a link to the challenge, there does, and I don't know if that's what you were covering in the next line, but there does need to be a time limit put on the driver to respond to this too. Because you can, like you were saying about a guy from a year ago, you can't have a driver even in a week later going, oh wait, I want to challenge that. Like if he's serious, you got to challenge it. Come on, guys.
Well, I mean, it really depends on when you got deactivated. Like my buddy, he stops driving in August when school starts, and so I don't know exactly when they deactivated him. Neither is he, because he didn't open his app ever again.
Sure.
So you have to give some kind of time frame. I'm not opposed to, giving the driver a limitation, but that's where the 12-month look back comes into play. Because if you don't do it within 12 months, that's on you. You should at least run your app at least once in 12 months.
Yeah.
And so the last part of this is the enforcement and remedies. Basically who's going to govern it, things like that, like Department of Labor, Attorney Generals, your private rights of action, and independent contractor status is expressly preserved. That's one thing we don't want to get away from is we still want to be independent contractors. I think everybody can agree on that. Of course, who benefits this? Drivers, consumers, and the state. All three benefit from it. I know the platform's going to say they don't benefit from it, but you know, if you wasn't doing shady stuff to begin with, we wouldn't need these type of things.
Oh, wait, and before we go on, that's what it was, the no retaliation. Somebody asked me something, and I had to clarify this on Twitter with the Colorado group that is the committee to challenge the human review. Somebody had said to me, and it was a great question, but if you get the human review and DoorDash is told you got to put this guy back on, what's to stop DoorDash from never sending that guy another offer? There is the human review board actually, after reviewing the ones that come in, follow up with you. Have you been getting offers? They want to know, did you get cut off after we reviewed you and said you need to be put back on?
Yeah,
because that's a whole nother fine.
Yeah, they can't silent deactivate you or limit your orders. They have to reactivate you as you were.
Right, but I think the concern of the person was, how would we know? They might just go, you just haven't had any orders. And I'm saying the human review board very closely follow. They're waiting. Their teeth are wet. They're waiting for somebody to go, no, I haven't in a month. Oh, cool. We're going to kill them. You know, I mean, they've had it. They understand the loopholes. So, but yeah, I mean, I think that, because you're right. I mean, I mean, first of all of the fines go to the state. So when you say 1,000, 1,500, the 500 is for admin, the 1,000, that's 2,500 per instance on so if they remove $1 of your tip, and those receipts
$1,000.
No, it's 2,500.
Or 2,500, huh?
$2,500 if they change $1 on that receipt. So there's the incentive. When I've had a lot of people say 2,500 isn't that much to these companies. You're absolutely right. But if they're screwing around over $1, it's a lot.
Well, I mean, dollar adds up when you're doing, million plus rides a day.
But if it adds up to 2,500 instead of the $1, might as well just keep the $1 in place.
Yeah, might as well. I mean, and it's really sad that throughout history we've had this problem with employers taking advantage of employees. And even though we're not technically employees, it's sad that we have to fight for something that we should naturally get as a contractor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that a lot of people, like Roy, I get it. He's not a fan of what we all try to do. I don't know why. It's not like we're asking for minimum wage or health insurance or
from what I was
like that.
And that's why I specifically wanted to pull out that one.
It's just information.
Because there's people who Roy talks to about this stuff. And what I did notice after we were talking a little bit was he made a comment about, well, most of the gig workers just want more money. See, that's not what we're doing. And that's nothing, just so all of you know, that's not what I'm about.
I talk to a lot of gig workers. Steve talks to a lot of gig workers, and I think one thing that if I asked all the gig workers, besides higher paying offers, what can help you make better decisions while you're working? And every one of them will tell me, well, I need to know exactly what it's paying and where's it going.
Yeah.
Almost every one. Because a lot of them will turn down a 650 9-mile run because they don't want to gamble on if the tip's going to, or if it has a tip attached or whatever. They don't want to gamble on that stuff. I know some people will turn down Uber Eats offers because, they're afraid of being tip baited. They're like, yeah, it's paying $40, but what if they remove the tip? Then I did all that work for nothing. And so this is actually what's helping these drivers. So that way, when they go to work, they're not fearful of what's going to happen. They can just work and make their money and pay their bills.
And also don't even think for a second that when, like, and all of us have seen this, you get to a McDonald's at night and there's 640 bags that just haven't been picked up because the order sucks. Don't think for a second that when that food gets thrown away, I mean, McDonald's and the platforms have something worked out, but don't think for a second that they don't go, oh, really? Take it out of the drivers.
And this ain't going to stop like Roy said, it's not going to stop 250 offers. It's not. We're not asking for a minimum payment. The only thing we're asking for is show us everything we should already know and don't tip bait us. As simple as that. Let me use whatever I want to use as my tools. I'm an independent contractor. I can drive whatever car I want, use whatever app I want. You know, it's just how it should be already.
I mean, I heard as Bubba Sue summed it
Yeah.
up perfect, because that is what it is. I mean, like, I do other type work. Gary does too. I mean, maybe I can't even think of one. Maybe Gary's had one where he'd be like, an offer comes in, hey Gary, could you do this for me? Blah, and he'd be like, well, you left out this part, and that's going to cost 300. Could you write it back up?
Right.
So
Yeah,
I mean,
it happens. It happens all the time in my world of programming. So, you know, someone will send me a job listing,
yeah,
and then they'll have exactly what I'm going to do on that job. They don't leave anything out, because if they do, guess what? I don't do it.
right.
And if it breaks their app, it breaks their app, because it's not my fault. I did exactly what you wanted me to do. So if you leave something out and then you want me to do it, I need more money. I can tell them that.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Brian Have It Your Way when he was saying that he had a landscaping company. It's not like somebody can say, okay, so we've agreed $800. You're going to do everything I need, right? Yep. He's like, cool. I've just finished. Front yard looks great. And they're like, well, did you do the back? No.
Right.
That's a whole nother bid, brother.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a
I
whole
mean,
other bid. Yeah.
and I pointed out, because this happens everywhere. People are going to scam. App companies are going to scam to the T because they keep getting away with it.
Well,
That's
the app
why it
companies
needs to
are
be
going to do what's
stopped.
best for them. The app companies will always do what is best for them and their investors. I don't care what they tweet out, or we're allowing you to have a favorite driver now. Who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? I don't care if you can favorite me. What I
Other
care about,
than if somebody does and you like them too, that's a good passenger to poach.
well, I mean, yeah, private rides, you know.
Like, because then you're like, wow, that guy likes me. Cool. He was
Yeah.
all right. I'll
Yeah,
just tell him,
but
hey
I mean,
man, I'll cancel it right now and you just pay me this.
like I hear people say it all the time. Oh, I wish you could be my driver all the time. Well, I don't, because what if I'm on the east side of the city? You live on the west side of the city. I don't want your offer.
Yeah.
You know? And so, like, it's weird what drivers get excited about, and I don't understand everything they get excited about. It just, it's weird to me.
Yeah. No, it's it is. And you guys, so this is what's happening, is that Gary's going to submit this. And now whoever, I mean, I know that Have It Your Way, Brian, I know that Torp, I know a few others want to do one of these. Let's get it done. What I had said to both of those people was, let's not do all 50 states this week. Let's roll out a couple states at a time and see if we're getting some kind of feedback, like, hey, why'd you do this? And we could start to go, okay, let's change that.
Right. One thing about the laws is you learn from the previous law. Like, I already know, like, talking to Steve, I didn't know originally that they had to split their TNC and their DNC. Well,
Yeah.
I know before we do this bill, where I propose is probably going to be split.
Right.
You know, because if
And
not,
what
it's
they
gonna
and
have
what
the
they
same
did
loophole.
was how an HB 231175 was the original bill that had DNC and TNC in the House. It was spearheaded by Stephanie, who was a freshman. And when it got shot down, even though they don't ever have to tell you all the reasons, the reason it got shot down so quickly was because of the fact they knew there was things in TNC and
Conflicting.
DNC that just didn't sync up. So the lobbyists shot her down. That's when, after we did the town hall, and Kevin Priola, who was a veteran senator, stepped in and goes, well, the reason they did that is because they knew that there would be legal discrepancies between the two. So what we need to do is split these up. So it took somebody who had a little more experience in politics here in Colorado to tell Stephanie, no, they're just pulling. It's not like your bill sucks, get the hell out of my face. It's that they know you're getting close to something, but they're like, shit, if she splits this, we're fucked.
Right. And that's where we need to come together too when we're doing these laws and we're trying to send in the states, learn from the previous states' mistakes. Like I'm already learned from Steve. I gotta split the bills. Okay,
Mhm.
whenever I talk to the rep, I'll explain to them, hey, this is what challenges they had in Colorado. This is most likely what we're gonna have here. We probably need to do this, this, and this. And then where we go to pass, say Pennsylvania, well, we can use Oklahoma and Colorado. And eventually, by the time we get through all these states, we'll pretty much have this streamlined.
But I mean, but using Colorado as the basis to any state that
Right.
wants to do it right now is what you need to do because it's the only
Right.
state.
Yeah, even if you just want something very basic, you just
well,
need
that's
to
I
get
think where
something
we're
on the
at. Let's
books.
get something
Right.
basic on the books
Right.
because you don't know how many union shills have walked into that guy's office.
Right.
And
Yeah, you
don't
just
tell
need
me I'm in a
something.
red state, so nobody would have popped in. I'm a right to work state.
Bull
It
crap.
doesn't matter. They keep tweaking out the laws around the gig space so much, they'll find a way to keep it a right to work state, but allow the union. And the last thing I want to say is because it blew my mind. Karen Anderson is a whiz at this stuff. We were, and I know it gets confusing, but if you're familiar with California, and I'll just run through this real quick. So they did a constitutional challenge on Prop 22 after the voters voted, and the Supreme Court of California said no. The voters voted, and no, this doesn't do that. Then they went to the Ninth Court, and if you know the Ninth Circuit Court, Judge Raich, he is basically a union shill himself, and he will pass anything. So he did declare it unconstitutional. So what they said is now we have the right to organize. It got through the House. It got through the Senate. It is now going to Newsom's desk. If he signs it, it goes into law on January 1st of 2026. Here's the problem. When the Supreme Court of California in the first ruling said, no, this is not unconstitutional, it stays in place, they also solidified Prop 22, meaning that if the push to get a gig worker union through for January 1st of this coming year from Newsom happens, guess what, guys? I want to know from any of you, and I'm not a union fan, but I want to know from any of you who have any experience in it, because I've already looked, there's no perk, but the amount you'll be paid is Prop 22. That is solidified in the Supreme Court. It is emboldened in the state. So what is the union? I don't know what they do for any gig worker in any state, but what are you going to be paying 15% of your pay to the unions for? They can't negotiate price. It is locked in. It cannot be fought.
Right.
So what are they negotiating on your behalf? To the way I see it and the way Karen saw it, like literally they're taking 15% of your money to go, fuck you. We're not going to do anything for you.
Yeah. They just wanted their cut just like everybody else.
Right. But at least you pretend to disguise it. I mean, if you go to them, they're going to have to say legally, oh yeah, that's you guys, that's law. I can't touch that.
Yeah.
I mean, so my point is like in that example, you are really screwed up if you think, oh, well, we'll just get a union in California. You're just asking to have the same situation you're in right now. If the gig apps stay with way less drivers, way less rides, longer wait times, less pay, more pay to the customer, and you're going to have to dish out a certain percentage to a union.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, I think it's pretty clear that just doesn't make any sense. But you guys, thank you for joining us. That's a wrap for this episode of The Conversation. Thank you, everybody, for watching the live or on the replay, audio or video podcast. Thank you to Gary for his time, and check out garysapps.com. Really simple. You used to have to say Middleton Technologies, and we had to tell you to go to if you got there, you go to the apps page, but garysapps.com takes you right to them. Check them out because they are safety apps, and no matter what, they're legal, guys. I mean, we would just like some solidification in laws saying, yeah, they're legal. Because it already is. It already is in the A prong, but this is the kind of thing that gig apps need to step up and do. And, Gary's even said, hey, if the gig apps want to make it themselves in their apps, go ahead. But they don't.
Well, what's funny is they have copied some of my features over the years.
Yeah, but are all of them long lived, and do they really do it, and do they follow through? I don't know. But yeah, that's Maximo, DUH, Flex Alert, Yak, and Gig Wars. And so, guys, until next time, thank you all for joining. And yeah, let's get this rolling and be safe, earn smart, and let's make a difference.
Peace.
She was just a baby.